This is a continuation of Chapter 23, which is on iteration. Iteration is a fancy word for looping, and we began with the while loop last time. This time we're going to take a look at the for loop. Here is the syntax. For, and then in parenthesis you say name in list, and if there is a single statement to do, you can do this all on one line. However, if there are a number of statements that need to be executed, you need an opening curly brace. Of course, the statements here, in this particular case, I have them indented 3 spaces. The general thing I'm going to do up above will be 2 spaces, but as long as you're consistent, that's all that matters, and then a closing curly brace. What this will do is it will set each component in the list to name in sequence, and then for each component, the command or commands that are taken care of in the statement or statements there are executed. The problem that's going to be solved here is the same problem we hit in the last video, which was the Fibonacci sequence. But what you're going to see here is for loops in certain applications, not all applications, but certain applications, tend to be much more efficient in terms of the ability to put things down in a program more compactly. So I'm going to start out by setting the vector fib, but instead of setting it to a numeric vector of 10 values, I'm going to set it to a numeric vector of 10 ones. Now, in this particular case, the reason that was done is that also initiates my first 2 elements both being 1s. The rest of them I don't care about. I'm going to change them in the for loop. But at least the first 2 of them are set equal to 1. Then I put in a for loop. And if you look at the syntax down here, it is name in list. So this is the name of some object contained in a list. And a special case of a list is a vector. So in this case, the object that I'm going to name is I, and it plays exactly the same role as it did in while loops, in, and then instead of a list here, I'm going to put in a vector. I'm going to take the counter I and send it from 3 to 10. Now, in this case, I only need to do one thing because I is automatically being incremented. I need to take fib sub I and set it equal to fib sub I minus 1 plus fib sub I minus 2. And that's it for the for loop. Let's take a look at that for a minute. When that for loop is first executed, I will be equal to 3. When I is equal to 3, this statement will become fib sub 3 is equal to fib sub 2 plus fib sub 1. Well, fib sub 2 and fib sub 1 are both 1s, so this will take the third element of the fib vector, and it'll set it to 1 plus 1, which is 2. And then the next thing that will happen, I will get set to 4, because you can see this is a vector from 3 to 10. So when I is equal to 4, fib sub 4 will get set equal to fib sub 3 plus fib sub 2. But what is in fib sub 3? In fib sub 3 is a 2. In fib sub 2 is a 1. So 2 plus 1 is equal to 3, and that's the next element in the fib vector. So at the end, I should do exactly the same thing as I did before. I should come down here and take a look and see if it did it properly. We'll print out the vector fib. And so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and highlight that code and run it. And here's what you get. First of all, fib got set to a vector of 10 ones. Then silently, the for loop operates. It doesn't announce what it's doing in any way. It's running I from 3 to 10 and executing this statement. And in the end, when you print out the fib vector, it comes out exactly the way it did before. So this is a simple example of a for loop. We'll do a complicated example next.